What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel. Back on the channel to promote the second installment of Terminus 2 on February 24th in Atlanta, Georgia. It's promotion co-owner Baron Black. Baron, what's going on, man? Welcome back to the channel.
I'm doing good, man. You know what I'm saying? Just taking it one day at a time. Getting ready for this Terminus 2 back in hot Atlanta. And we're going to try to do it bigger than the first time.
I feel you on that. It seems like, this is going to be a routine thing. You coming on the channel maybe once a month or maybe bi-monthly to come to promote the next Terminus show. Is it official that we're going to make this a monthly or a bi-monthly thing?
I have no comment on that. I have no comment on that, sir.
I
We just like Bill Belichick. Got the Bill Belichick mindset. We on the Terminus 2.
I bet we're gonna do that. He probably gonna refer to me, after we wrap this up. He's trying to be modest right now, but I respect it. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. But like Baron, looking back on the first Terminus event, to tell me overall thoughts about it. How you thought the production was, the way you guys timed things out. I'm sure it was a nerve-wracking thing, on the lead up to it, and then even more so, knowing that you guys were like mere hours or even an hour away from showtime.
Yeah, looking back at it, overall it turned very well. It turned out very well. Had a lot of people show up to the show in the snowstorm in Atlanta of all this. We was officially sold out as well. A lot of people watched it on pay-per-view on Fight TV, and it got a lot of great reception from the fans, and I was very happy with the overall product. Yeah, we had a little bit of, growing pains, with audio and the production issues that obviously will be ironed out this time around. But overall, it was great. Nerve-wracking, but it was definitely a great experience, and I loved it.
Yeah, so you talked about like the sort of like production, mishaps and stuff. I mean, bro, that stuff is like bound to happen. Like whenever somebody's presenting their first show, like we've seen it countless times with different people have put on their first show. There's always like those little small little things right there that I'm saying, that I'm sure to you guys who are presenting the show, it might seem like the biggest thing in the world, but like to us watching, it's not like really a big thing. And then at that, I think there's always like like you said, those initial growing pains or those first show growing pains that you guys get through, and like you said, things will be smoother this coming week. But the talent does go around, man. You guys got Swerve on the show, Davey Richards, Serena D, Trey Lamar, Kevin Blackwood, Kenny Alfonso, Leon Ruff, among many others. I like how, especially on the first show, and then this upcoming show, I'm liking the sort of rotation that you guys have. Like it seems like you guys, you and Jonathan Gresham, you have a mix of the people who were on the first show, but also you wanted to throw in a whole new batch of people that people we're pretty much very much looking forward to see, to talk about like sort of you guys' thought process when it comes to mixing in new people to the Terminus promotion, and then also bringing back people from the first installment of Terminus.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great visual by you. You definitely caught that. And yeah, I mean, there's certain stories to be told. As you can see from the first show, Joe Keys and Dante actually got into it with Daniel Garcia after during the first show. And that clip was up, and obviously we see Terminus 2, Daniel Garcia got him some backup in his homeboy, Kevin Blackwood, and now they're taking on, Dante and Joe Keys. So there's definitely story elements to some people returning. And obviously you've seen at the end of the first show, Santana come out and challenging John Gresham for the original ROH title. And now we have Santana challenging Gresham for the title here at Terminus 2. So, it's definitely reasons why you see people return. And also, you have the new guys that you probably know, or new guys that you probably don't know too much about. And we always said from the beginning that Terminus will also give opportunities to wrestlers slash grapplers who also hone their craft and is ready for a big platform.
Right.
So yeah, that was a great observation by you. You caught that.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it. Try to do my job, man. But like I know it's still very early on in this project. Very, very still early on in the growth of Terminus. But like, do you guys have any sort of aspirations or ideas to maybe hold a special type of Terminus event outside of the state of Georgia? Or is the plan to, continue, with Georgia being the permanent home of Terminus? Like, now I know you mentioned earlier, and even in the past interview, like, you guys are very much focused on what you got in front of you. But like, just as like a thought, like, would I think it would be better to phrase the question more as like a personal thing towards you. Like, would you like the idea of doing like a special, like, one time or 2-time Terminus event, outside of the state of Georgia, to sort of sort of see what the attraction would be in another state opposed to Georgia?
Like I was saying before previous interviews, it's about Atlanta. That's where the name Terminus originates from. It's the old name of Atlanta back in the 1800s. So the core focus is Atlanta, helping our native city, our hometown, um, reignite and bring wrestling back on fire like this hotbed of Atlanta was back in the day. So that's always going to be the core focus. Would Terminus travel to other places? I don't have the answer for you that right now. You know what I mean? Maybe so, maybe not. You know what I'm saying? But right now, um, as it's looking, like I told you, that Bill Belichick mindset, we on a Terminus too.
I feel you. I feel you.
We
I
on
feel
a
you.
Terminus. It is here in Atlanta. So would I be open to the idea? Of course, I'll be open to the idea, but is that in the plans? There's really no discussions about that just yet.
I feel you. I feel you. Like, we talked about it last time, off air, like after we wrapped up the last interview. Yourself, the Jonathan Gresham, man, two black talents, two black men who are go spearheading this promotion. How important, is representation in wrestling for you? And, are there any other talents that you sort of see out there right now on the independents, or people that you come across while in AEW who's coming in to do some, darker elevation stuff, when you kind of like, I wonder how they would, do in Terminus, or sort of thrive in Terminus, or sort of thrive in the promotion?
Um, yeah, representation is very important. Uh, definitely. You definitely want that. Um, it's part of what I do, especially for you know the African American community,
Right.
because I'm part of it and I grew up in it. Grew up in probably probably some of the I'm not gonna say probably. I grew up in some of the roughest neighborhoods you can think of in different places in Atlanta. So also, in different places where I was born in New York City. So um so representation definitely matters to me a lot because I knew how much it meant to me to see, past legends that looked like me, like Ron Simmons and, Booker T and the Harlem Heat and Mark Henry, The Rock. I know how important it was for me to see people that look like me to be on TV to make me believe that I can actually do this. So representation definitely matters to me personally on that level. And as far as like seeing talent, interactive and talent on places I work, yeah, I mean that happens. I mean that one prime example of that is Invictus Cash. He's a guy that has worked AEW Dark several times, and I knew that was like, yeah, I think this guy definitely has something, and now you see him at Terminus. So another one is Queen Almanada, who's on Terminus too. I've been on Dark a few times, and I've seen her work outside of AEW Dark as well. So I was like, maybe, maybe we should give her this platform and see what she can do with it. So that definitely does come into play.
And like I had recently heard an interview that JDX did, and he had a lot of good things to say about you and Gresham, for how you guys sort of welcomed him in. Like he was like, firstly, he you credited you for providing him with the opportunity to be on the first Terminus show, and then he was like he was kind of nervous to beat Gresham, because he was like he like phrased it, like the way he worded it was like he thought that it more so it was you that was bringing him into the promotion, and he was like he didn't know if Gresham like knew who he was, or like it was he was like he was just real nervous about that aspect of it. He was like real appreciative of you guys for welcoming him in and stuff like that. And he was like he made like a joke. He made like a joke about y'all having like a top secret meeting like before the show. Like it was like y'all were like standing like on this platform type thing, and he was like it was like a top secret like agent type meeting. He was like y'all was like standing over top of the venue and stuff.
Oh man, it was so funny that nobody took a picture of that. Like we were on the balcony of the venue, and we was basically having our little production meeting between Gresham and myself. And of course, we can, what a balcony is, it looks over the whole arena. We can see everybody, walk, going through the imaginary ring, stuff like that. So I didn't know nobody was paying attention to us up there. So it's funny that he described it like that.
Yeah, he was like it was like a top secret, top secret meeting that y'all was having on top of the platform. So yeah, I thought that pop was funny, and it was cool to see JDX up there, man. He spoke highly of you, Dante Martin and Darius Martin, a bunch of other guys, man. So yeah, it's cool to see JDX get out there and do some stuff, outside of Terminus out in AEW Dark and all that, all else he's doing as well. But going back to the topic of like representation in wrestling, I feel like things can always be improved on just in wrestling in general. But I feel like it's in a good spot right now in terms of seeing how many black talents are out there and in these marquee spots, whether it's nationally televised promotion or just independent, or just on the independent scene. I think it's all under the umbrella, of course, professional wrestling, and everybody's grinding. And one thing I always say is like I think a lot of people say this, not just me, but like I think black people love professional wrestling. Black folks have always loved professional wrestling. Like I'm definitely of that belief. Like it may be some who their fandoms maybe are not as deep, but I think that for the most part, it's a genre, a sport / entertainment, genre that a lot of us love, and a lot of us can be sort of get lost in a little bit. Like for now that you're sort of in the promoter seat, like what do you think can be done to sort of draw in more black wrestling fans? Like maybe those who who'll keep up with it through social media. They don't really tune into anything outside of the major promotions. Like what do you think could be done, or just some some things off the top of your head that's like how could we draw those people in that that we know do like it but don't necessarily follow it?
That's actually a good question. And I think the answer to that is get out in the community. As far as, the black community, we've seen the black community really engaged into wrestling before. And might be before you started wrestling. I'm not sure how old you are right now. But in the Attitude Era, like they was engaged heavily. You know what I mean? I don't know. When did you start watching wrestling?
I started watching, I would say like the year 2000, maybe 1999, because I was 3. I have like vivid memories of me being like a very, very small child and like watching professional wrestling. So yeah, I'm gonna say towards the tail end of the Attitude Era. I would say like 1999, like around that. Towards that later stage, going into the early 2000s.
Yeah, early 2000s. Boy, you baby. But yeah, it's Yeah, in the Attitude Era, which was like mid '90s. So it's before you got to experience it. Like the Black community, the African American community, was heavy into wrestling, as with every other community. Like wrestling was like the thing in the early and mid '90s, going into the late '90s. It's like that Attitude Era and in that what they call the Monday Night War era.
Yeah.
Everybody was into very heavy. So you know fast forward, a decade or two or a half, and a decade and a half, and they're not as engaged as they were before. And I don't really know the answer to why, but I'm trying to figure that out. But I do have noticed since the first Terminus show that I have gotten a lot of people in my community here in Atlanta that are part of the Black community really inquire about Terminus.
Mm.
From a fan standpoint, also from business standpoint, I had very important business people in Atlanta who happen to be African American inquire about Terminus. So obviously the word is getting out in the city, and I don't know if it has to do with the representation or it has to do with the actual product we put on, but something is clicking with the African American community here in Atlanta, because I am speaking to them, and I just spoke to a few fans before I got on an interview with you. They're coming to the show for the first time on Terminus 2. They live in Atlanta, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And if and I went out and checked out their pages, and one of them was actually a music artist who had a pretty good following, and you really don't see nothing on his page about wrestling, so you wouldn't think he's a wrestling fan. So it goes to what you were saying, like people do like wrestling in
Yeah.
our community, but you don't really know if they follow it or not.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I've gotten a lot of nice messages ever since the first Terminus show, and I've really seen that Atlanta's African American community has definitely caught on to it and is continuing to grow.
Yeah.
So all I have to say is the answer is get back into the community. I mean, it might be the old school way because everything is like we do everything on social media now. We do everything on our phones, but we might have to get back into the community to get, the Black community engaged like they were before.
Yeah, and you wanna know what's crazy? Like just from like my friends, like the ones who know that I, cover and like am like deeply invested in pro wrestling. Is like they like it, but the thing is, I think that they sort of fell out of it when they found out that wrestling was a scripted sport or a scripted entertainment genre, however you view it. Like, and the thing is, like, I think once I found out that it was, I got like more invested. Like it was like because I found out like 2005, 2006, and like I think that's when I got like even more invested in it. Like, and that's when you start to grow sort of that respect for the wrestlers who go out there and do this stuff and who are able to like memorize these certain things or like especially knowing what you guys put your bodies through. So yeah, I think that's when I sort of got more invested. But I think that's where like just from the people that I've spoken to, I think that's when they sort of fell out of it a little bit. So it is interesting to see how they'll eventually or hopefully get back into the mix. Because man, I think that wrestling is like such a unique and like very distinctive and just it I think pro wrestling is one of those like sort of I don't want to use the cliche term or like art form, but I think it's always going to be one of those things where it'll always be around and it'll always have a place and it could be so much more than what it is. And I think it just needs like I don't really know. I think that wrestling can continue continue to grow like even more than what it is right now. Like I always think that possibility is there just because of the fact that there's so many people who are like they sort of fell out of wrestling or like they have untapped fandom and stuff like that. There's so many people out there who I think would be very invested if they sort of just gave it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, that was around like really before you started wrestling when the fake wrestling is fake praise happened, and some people did disengage at that point because they didn't realize what it took to actually become a wrestler.
Right.
It wasn't actually, when we had shows like Tough Enough actually come around and people had to actually see and realize, this is really some physical sport form.
Yeah.
This is physical form of sport here. Like it's and that's when people really started, looking past that, you know, first shock moment about wrestling being predetermined or scripted. I don't use the word fake because there's nothing fake about what the hell I do.
Right.
There ain't
Talk to
nothing
him.
fake about it. I mean,
Talk to him.
the ring, hitting those ropes, landing on that mat, the physicality ain't none of that. Ain't nothing fake about none of that. So
The car rides
it's
to city to city.
yeah, it's like it's one of the toughest things for an athlete to be a part of. And being at Nightmare Factory, I've got the privilege to actually see some pro athletes come from other avenues, like Satnam coming from the NBA, or Shaq coming in to train for when he was going to do his match, and them actually realizing like, hey, this is and I can say a funny story, like actually helping out. And Shaq would come in and train at the Nightmare Factory, and I would just be a helping hand. And I remember Shaq actually hit the mat for the first time, and he looked over, looked dead in our face, and said, "Damn, this is what it feels like every time." So it's like, man, that was probably the most dominant man in sports at one point in time. And he felt that shit. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, bro, it feels like that every time. So, you know what I mean? So it's definitely one of the most physically demanding, and definitely one of the most mentally demanding things an athlete can do.
Yeah.
And I always tell people it's probably the toughest sport you can play. You can actually do on the planet. And I tell people that.
Yeah, so I'm about to say, Baron, and then on top of that, you got MMA fighters who will gladly say that pro wrestling is much harder than MMA, like Ken Shamrock and a bunch of people who have like achieved great success in MMA. Like they've said on countless occasions that pro wrestling was like one of the hardest things that they've ever had to do.
Yeah, it really is. It takes a certain type of individual to do wrestling. If it takes a certain type of strength, certain type of loose screw, certain type of toughness to do professional wrestling. And when I see anybody that comes from a different, background, athletic background, I smile because they finna get a. No, it ain't none of that trampoline shit you seen on you. It ain't none of that. These ropes ain't pillowcases. It ain't cushions. It ain't comforters. And no, it ain't none of that. This ain't IKEA when you get in the ring. And I love it when they first get in the ring, because the shock that's on their face is just priceless.
Now, sort of transition to topics, Baron. You were talking about training Shaquille O'Neal. You did mention the Nightmare Factory / Nightmare Family, which you are a part of. Cody Rhodes announced that he is no longer with All Elite Wrestling. Before we get into any of the other stuff surrounding that, I just wanted to ask you to sort of touch on how Cody has, impacted your career, and what he's been able to, help you with over the past, year or so, past several years.
He has had nothing but a positive impact. I know Cody has become this polarizing figure, and on social media, it's like kind of like cool to hate on Cody for whatever reason they come up with, but it's only been positive with my experience with him. Being able to learn a lot from him, from being around him so often. You know what I mean? And he has his Nightmare Family camps that he's the head of, and he trains, and being able to see how he trains individuals, he got all that tenured experience from being in, on it with a television company ever since, he became an adult or even before an adult, being around wrestling at that level. And then, you know, um, being around a major television company like that and having all that experience, he just has all that wealth of knowledge that any up and coming talent like myself would desperately want to know and desperately need in learning off his experience and all the stuff he can teach. So I learned a lot from him just being around him, helping him out with training at the Nightmare Factory camps. And eventually, we became a little cool, and then we did
Yeah.
the little stuff on the Sammy's blog, the Friend Olympics things that, the fans love so much. And you get to see the other side of Cody, which is I call it the silly side. The silly side. The man loves to have fun. And I think that's pretty obvious for people who even watch Rose to the Top. The man, he's serious about wrestling. He's dedicated about wrestling, and he lives and breathes it. But he also understands that wrestling should be fun. And all the crazy antics he has done with Fuego and me, Kylan, and do all the Friend Olympic stuff. It's like it was a real good experience, man. It was a real good experience, and it's been nothing but a positive experience for me. And he even made me an honorary member of a Nightmare Family.
Hey.
So, so yeah. So you can say he's done a lot, and I thank him for everything that he has done, and I'll always be appreciative of all that.
Right. And the last thing on Cody before we get back to Terminus, there's been nothing official. And truly, like, I don't think that anybody knows outside of, Cody's personal circle and himself about what's next for him. We are recording this on Monday, and, rumors running rapid, man. You never know. That, like, we might be recording this on the day he shows up. But like, have you guys sort of been briefed up as far as like, will he still be helping around at the Nightmare Factory and stuff like that, and helping out QT and being around there with you guys? Have you guys been briefed up on that, or is it sort of like one of those things where you guys really don't you guys really aren't sure about the future of that per se?
Oh, it's called Nightmare Factory for a reason.
Mhm. Oh, okay, cool, yeah, okay.
It's called Nightmare Factory for a reason. That has nothing to do with none of the other stuff that transpired.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool.
And no, I don't know what Cody is going to do.
All right, no, no, for sure, for sure. I wasn't even thinking about asking you that. 'Cause I was like, I mean, when it comes to stuff like that, I'm just like, I doubt that like nobody knows except for him or those within who he decided to tell or anything like that. So I was like, it's no point even like trying to add something like that. But like going back to Terminus, man, there have been a few changes to the card. Like Josh Alexander's been replaced by Chris Sabin. Leo Rush and Gabriel Kidd are both off the show now. Not that you enjoy seeing that happen, because I'm pretty sure that's like just a very stressful thing and hectic thing to sort of have to find last minute replacements, or not last minute in the case of Josh Alexander, but maybe more so in the case of Leo Rush and Gabriel Kidd. But like now that you're again in that promoter spot, and this is the early stages of this, like I'm pretty sure like once you guys get further along to it, like when you had to replace people, it'll probably get annoying. But like like now that, but now that's still in the early stages of it, like do you have that sort of like do you view it like as a challenge type thing to be like, okay, they're out now, I got to find somebody who, or find multiple people who will fit very well into this, or who would click with this person or click with that person? Do you sort of just because it's in the early stages of it, like do you sort of enjoy that challenge, or is it just or at this point is it already still like like when you got to replace somebody, is it like, damn, like come on, man?
Um, no, I mean, I guess that's yes and no to the answer to that question. Simply because um, it's always been my understanding of how stuff works, because I am a wrestler.
Right.
It's kind of different Now, when it just promoters used to be just promoters that have been around wrestling, you know, a lot of promoters weren't actually wrestlers, or they haven't wrestled in a long time, or was actively wrestling. So I know stuff happens. You know what I mean? Stuff happens. People get bumps and bruises. You know, things happen. This is why we always have that card subject to change. That's why you see it on every flyer you see from any promotion. You always see that, because if something can happen, something will happen. So you got to have that mindset. And that's the mindset I had. You know, I'm just like, hey, if something happens, something happens. We just go with the flow and try to fix it. So, and it's not like, and sometimes it will drive you crazy, because you have, you know, you have certain matchups that you're definitely excited about, or you definitely been advertising, and you no longer can do those. And it's like, oh, I'm ready to lariat the next 3 people in the grocery store. You know what I mean? Like, but you know, that's part of the business. You know, car subject change, it happens. So you just roll with the punches, and it is kind of exciting to be like, okay, what can I do now? I gotta work. I gotta work. I gotta work my match. I gotta work my, my finesse. I gotta see what I can pull out of here. You know what I mean? It's kind of like playing a game of spades when you have no spades left in your hand. You gotta read the board, and you gotta play. You gotta play. You gotta play what you got dealt. You know what I mean? Let's see how I can finesse this hand real quick.
And, Baron, as we wrap up, we got to talk about Anthony Ogogo. And you guys are sort of back and forth on social media and back and forth on AEW programming. There's obviously something there between you two that can be explored more. Like, is that something that you hope to transition, or to maybe an AEW Dynamite or an AEW Rampage, or even maybe you guys take that to Terminus, like if it continues to gain traction?
Of all things, you asked me about this. Of all things, you asked me about this.
Anthony Ogogo.
Oh my God. Look, understand that people have seen what we have done. People have seen us go back and forth, and they've seen the matches we've had. And the thing is if I ever get another chance, another shot with him, and I want to keep in mind, nobody has ever taken him to the limit but me and Cody. So obviously, so if I ever get my hands on him again, I promise you, the result is going to be different.
Okay, there we go. Man is going to be there we go.
To the Emperor Baron Black. I guarantee you that.
That's a call out right there to Anthony Ogogo. So I hope Ogogo knows what he's getting.
Call out, it's a call back, it's a ring back tone, whatever the hell you want it to be. It can be whatever the hell you want it to be. Look, all I know, all I'm gonna say is this: what the hell is a governor to an emperor?
There you go. That's where we're gonna leave it, and hopefully we get to see it again. And I'm our good man Baron Black. Hopefully the losing streak stops with Anthony Ogogo. I'm
just gonna say that eventually.
So hey, Baron, look. Either way, we still rocking with you, bro. It don't even matter. Like,
look, I'm gonna say this. Look, I'm gonna say this. Yes, the record is not looking too nice right now. It ain't sitting too pretty. But I mind you, just like you brought up Anthony Ogogo, and you brought up my record. If you go back and look at all the individuals that I've stood across the ring from, this has not been no cakewalk. This has probably been, no, it ain't no probably. This is
talk to him.
toughest, most brutal lineup of opponents that anybody on AEW Dark or AEW Dark Elevation has ever faced.
Facts.
So much so that even our beloved Tony Schiavone pointed that out on commentary during Elevation, AEW Dark Elevation. So I welcome it. I welcome it. You know what I mean? We one way or another, we're going to get it done. We sitting at goose egg and 47 or 48 losses, but we're knocking on the door of breaking a record that ain't really too proud to be breaking. But the point is, I don't want to have it any other way. I don't want the easy route. You know what I mean? The level of competition I've been facing has been superb. I don't want it to change. I want it to continue competition. So I'm going to do what I have to do to get it done. I don't care if it's Anthony Ogogo. I don't care if it's somebody else. I'm going to do what I have to do to get it done. And I embrace the challenge.
There we go. We looking forward to it, man. We looking forward to it. Baron Black breaking the streak. Baron Black taking out Anthony Ogogo. But last question, we did recently see you on AEW Dynamite. You got involved in the breakup of the Dark Order and Adam Cole, Bobby Fischer, Kyle O'Reilly. Yeah, Preston Vance tried to toss you around, man, but you resisted a little bit. He went about to just fling you around like how he's throwing all the other security guards out of the way, or the wrestlers playing security guards, playing the role of a security guard. Like I think it'll be interesting, to possibly see you versus Preston Vance, somewhere down the line, hopefully on on the TV show or on AEW Dark or Dark Elevation. I think that'd be cool to see, man. It kind of seemed like it was. It was something there. He ain't just with everybody else. He roughed everybody else up, but with you, he kind of took his time a little bit. It was like, hold on, you trying to resist me?
Look, me and 10, we scrapped already on Dark.
Okay.
Last year, and once again, I came pretty close to actually defeating him. This seems to be a situation that I keep running into. I'm very close. I've come very close nearly every time. So maybe that is the trick. Maybe I need to actually face someone I've already faced before.
Look at figured it out. Red-handed.
Maybe.
There we go. But ladies and gentlemen, of course, please be sure to check out Terminus 2 on Fight, February 24th. You will see the likes of Serena Deeb. You will see the likes of Baron Black, who will be taking on Jay Lethal. You'll be seeing Jonathan Gresham, who is defending the ROH World Championship against Santana. You will see an abundance of great talents like Daniel Garcia, like Kevin Blackwood, like Kenny Alfonso. There is going to be an abundance of people on this show, including more. February 24th, live on Fight. Very much looking forward to it. And Baron, please get all your plugs out, your social medias, anything you got coming up, upcoming dates, bookings, of course, promote Terminus. I will make sure to plug everything in the description of this video as we inch closer to the show.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. Find me on IG is at the Emperor. You'll see me. You'll see my big ass head. Swollen. Yeah. If you want to, if you're on the Facebook, you can go ahead and follow me on Facebook. I have no more room on my friends list. It is what it is. So, Facebook been having that limit forever. So ain't nothing I could do about that. But yeah, just follow your boy. Follow this journey. Because come hell or high water, we breaking the streak.
Here we go. That's what the people want to hear, man. See, y'all, the reason y'all can't get him on Facebook is because my man blew up. After I'm not gonna bring up this issue situation. I was about to say you blew up after that, but you know what? We not
Oh
we
God. Cut.